very first interview, my dad goes, "What are you doing?" I just kept sinking and sinking and sinking. So I had to sit in a hard chair because all of a sudden I'll disappear.
I know. I put my computer on a little stack because last time we did the interview, it just cuts me off here all the time. So I'm always trying to figure, well, I don't want to look like I'm just some like talking head.
No, that was actually good right there, Jess. That was good. You look good.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Because now his head is cut off.
Now his head.
I'm going to get a phone book and put it under her butt.
Yeah.
Hey, it's called props. They all work, right?
How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's good to see you. You're always happy. You know, Ira, I tell everybody about you guys. Everybody. And it goes back to that anyway, I'm starting this. Okay, here we go. All right. It's
Wait,
Brian
how long
Sebastian.
is this interview? How long are we doing this for?
We're going to do a part 1 and part 2.
Okay.
All right.
He didn't give you a time frame.
Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, the woman's broadcast TV network, worldwide TVN and IT247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. So we start with one of our co-hosts, the beautiful Miss Max, Sherry Nelson out of British Columbia, and my friends, and I look forward to seeing them all the time, but we can't see everybody, so we have to do Zoom. Ira Black and the one that posted person behind that man all the time, the one and only Jessica Chase. And the reason we have to say that like that, because I watched her at NAMM doing so many things, running around doing all the stuff, and then I watched Ira come out with a guitar as I was on my Segway, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. He goes, the first thing he said to me, Sherry, was, "Boy, you've gotten taller," because I was on my Segway. And I was like, well, it's kind of fun to see all these people. Let's start at NAMM. First of all, Ira, you played in over 60 bands. You played in everybody, but I think you were playing in Attica 7 because I had the honor, Jessica, believe it or not, as a lone black guy, being able to rehearse with them. I never thought I ever would be rehearsing in a heavy metal band. So I tell everybody I did at least. But with that, you played with everybody. I'll let you talk about who you perform with. Go ahead.
Who I perform with?
Yeah, all those bands you perform with.
Man,
I was got to take a heavy sigh.
I think about this all the time because, I have this thing in me. I keep going. I keep going. I see a lot of, unfortunately, it's not what I want, but I see a lot of people I played with over the years have kind of fallen to the wayside. They stop playing, and hopefully they still play for themselves at their house or whatever. And, because, music's a great thing. But for myself, I just have this drive that just, she can attest to it. Like I'm 24/7 with music. I can't get it out of my mind, whether it's I'm writing a song or, just jamming on the guitar or watching TV. They're always like, oh, we're trying to watch a show. Come on. Yeah. I am 24/7 with it. So no wonder I played in so many bands, and no wonder it's kind of hard for a lot of people to keep up with me. That's just the truth. I played in a handful of well-known bands, and as they say, the cream rises to the top. So I think that's what's happened for me. It's like I've been doing this for so long and just keep going that, I've got to connect with some other, successful, driven people and bands. And, and yet that still continues. I was doing a count the other day. I think I'm going to reveal some news here, but I think I just hit number 80.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that's how appropriate, 8's my favorite number. So that's great. But it's my own band that I'm starting, and I'm singing now. So this stuff that's going on with the coronavirus, the COVID and all this, it's actually kind of sparked and spawned me really taking a hard, long look at myself about really what I want to do. Okay, I've pretty much done it all. What haven't I really done? Well, I did this in the late 90s, early 2000s, where I started my own band where I was singing. And I did it for a short period of time. I don't think I was ready at that point in time to be the front man and the guitar player, but I've decided to take that on again. So hopefully when we get through this pandemic, that we're going through, I'm going to launch my new band. So I've been recording music and all these, writing and recording these new songs, and I'm singing on them. So wait till the world sees this and hears this. It's something, it's cool. I'm excited about it. My voice has healed up a lot. many years ago, I'm about 11 years sober now. And when I used to drink a lot, it kind of messed up my voice. A lot of people have known me for having this like, this voice that was kind of messed up. But now that I've been drinking for so long, my voice has healed up a lot. I'm very strong. I've been, like I said, recording all this stuff in the studio. And I mean, I can literally be in my studio for 8 hours singing straight, and my voice is solid. I'm not having any problems with it. I'm like, wow, this is kind of a shock and a surprise to me. It was just like, let me see if I can do this. And, so that's kind of where I'm at now, is like about doing my own thing now. So I'm kind of putting all that other stuff to the side. Like I've been there and done it all. So now that's where my new focus is. So.
Ira, you and Jessica, you have an amazing love story, and you've set the bar for many couples. You say that you write, so where do you get your inspiration? I'm imagine Jessica must inspire you. She must be your muse at very least, but I'm curious, where do you get your inspiration for your writing?
Well, that's a great question. That's another thing I think about a lot. And yes, of course, Jessica's a great inspiration to me. I couldn't do mostly what I'm doing in my life these days without her, to be honest. She's a great influence and inspiration, and she supports what I do. I've never met someone like that in my entire life. Actually, it supports me as much as she does, so she's, even though I jokingly say if I'm at home, sometimes she's like, hey, we're watching TV. Can you, because I'm just so infatuated with guitar that I can never put it down anyways. But in terms of having someone just back and support me, that couldn't be a bigger inspiration right there. Just someone that's like, you are awesome. She always tells like, you are music. When her and I first got back together, I was kind of like, I'm going to take a break from music. I'm going to get a regular job. I just want to make some money without having to go through the struggle thing. She's like, are you kidding me? No. Get your guitar and get back at it. Stop messing around. And then within a month after that conversation, I ended up joining Attica 7. It's like, bam. And then we're on the Mayhem tour 3 weeks later. I was like, whoa,
oh, wow.
like a whirlwind.
She's a lucky charm.
Totally. But I've been playing guitar for 40 years now, and, the inspiration thing comes from a lot of places in the big picture, I think the experiences that I've had in my life, I've been through a lot of stuff through my lifetime. Having left home when I was 14, I've been on my own for a long time. I had to kind of learn a lot about how to live life and just, trial and error for so long that like guitar has become like my way to express myself. It's like my other language, so you say, what inspires me? It's bigger than that. It's like the way we're talking right now, like when I play guitar, it's like this, like I'm having a conversation with the cosmos or something, so it's like just there. I can literally sit down right now and just write a song. I'm so tapped into it that it's like, it's beyond, inspiration. It's like just part of what's going on, so.
Yeah, no, that's such a true gift when you're in the moment. And I saw a video of you at, I think it was the 80s Rock Festival, and I know we had spoken, I'm sure Kenny Olson, and he said his best performances are the ones he cannot remember because he's just so in tune at that moment. And I saw you performing with Dokken, and I wondered if you were in that moment too, because it was very good.
Oh, cool, thank you. Yeah, that was interesting because that was my second show with Dokken.
Oh.
I had about less than 2 weeks to learn the whole set, 17 songs.
Wow.
And now I grew up on this material, so I knew it to a certain degree, but I don't walk around just knowing every song I've ever heard. I mean, I can listen to a song, even a difficult song, and get a gist of what's going on. But when it comes to like, hey, you're going to play with Dokken, in Dokken, as Dokken, like you're going to be the guitar player. So, that's a whole nother level of acceptance. Like, oh my God, I got to play this. Like every show's got to be like the last show I'm ever going to play. It better be on that level, So,
you were.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't get to rehearse with the bands. I just flew to Texas, went to sound check, and then we played our first show. I had 1 day off, we flew to Florida, and then you saw me there. So that was my second show. And, that's That's intense right there for sure. You know, when I look back at it, I'm like, wow, how did I do that? I think leading up to it too, every once in a while I question myself while I'm getting it together. I'm like, I wake up in the morning, like, am I going to be able to do this? There's a lot, you know, like, okay, I got 5 songs down for sure. I got another 12 to go. You know, I wake up the next day and I'm like, I hope, okay, what's my timeline? I got to get 3 songs down a day, you know, like for real. And then, you know, by the end of the day, I've been rehearsing all day. I'm like, oh, I got this. I wake up next morning. Am I going to be able to do this? You know, because it's a lot of pressure, you know, but I appreciate your compliment. And I feel like it just got better and better as I played with them. You know, I only did, you know, 12 or 13 shows or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but, you know, it's like I felt like the last show I played with Dokken, I was like so warmed up and I'm like, I got this. It was like, oh, that was the last one. So I was just feeling it's like, oh, just as I had my own personal, like, that was my best show with them. That was my last show with them. So I was like,
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Well, I think that's probably explains your longevity. You know, your ambition and enthusiasm to put out the best for your audience, for your fan base. And then you couple that with, you know, Jessica's amazing photos of you. So, you know, you give a lot to your audience and it's quite refreshing. It's nice. And I think that's what, you know, puts you to the top.
Totally. No, I appreciate that. What's great about what Jessica does, you know, it's like all the things that I lack at is what she's awesome at. You know, she's great with social media and stuff. Like, I literally, like, a lot of people are locked into Facebook and Instagram during this pandemic and stuff because, you know, there's not a lot to do, you know, so everyone's kind of there. I barely even go on Facebook anymore. I hate to admit it. It's like, you know, people go, oh, that's not even you on there. But, I mean, I'll call my production partner and, oh yeah, he'll be talking about something I posted on social media today. Like I should know it because supposedly I posted it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, you just posted it an hour ago. I'm like, what is it? I have to look like, oh, okay, Jessica posted. Like,
yeah, but I don't post personal things. Like, I'm not like pretending, like, I'm not like writing, oh, you know, I did this today and this sucks, or, you know, I don't,
not personal stuff. She just managing my page. She's put out, you know,
I just
content.
post like fan pictures and, you know, just like our cats and, you know, like, you know, stuff like that. It's not, I never claim to be him. I just put stuff up, pictures of him. There's a lot of pictures of him.
Jessica, by the way, I love your photos
you're
and I love the pictures of the cats.
Oh, thank you.
Doing that because
you know, like, you know,
people love.
I try to like just roll with the times, you know.
Ira, do you know the #1 thing on social media is people posting photos of their cats?
Me?
It's always been that.
Yeah.
See,
And
you're so far ahead of the time.
Totally. She's been doing the, you know, the Saturday Catterday thing for years now, you know, and it's definitely a thing out there for sure, you know.
Yeah.
Jessica, I always wanted to ask
metal
you.
guitar players, a lot of metal people are really into their cats. So it's just the funniest thing. You'll go on, you see like, you know, Gary Holt's got a cat for every day of the week, you know, and Ira's got cats. And like,
cats are a little bit easier than dogs. You got to take them out, walk and stuff. You know, musicians, you know, are too busy working on their music.
And they're evil. Cats are evil. You know, they're auspicious. You know, so we gotta.
But Jessica, you're so clever. You know, you should almost do like a Rock God's Trivial Pursuit game, and you know what I mean. Whose cat is this? Or, you know, hidden tour secrets. There's a video. There's a game.
I love seeing these big, hairy, scary, tattooed. Not Ira doesn't have tattoos, but these big, scary guys and their little pussy cat. You know, it's like it's just the coolest thing. I always think that's the best.
Jessica, I was going to ask you, when's the first time you picked up a camera? And did you know you were going to probably kind of be a photographer in a way?
Well, I don't know, you know, like I have a very creative eye as it is, you know, like I paint, I do painting and writing, and the camera just for me, like I just naturally, I just think I have a good, you know, eye for taking pictures. I really only use my iPhone, you know, occasionally I'll use. Yeah, occasionally I'll use.
I bought her a really nice camera. Was for your birthday or Christmas? I can't remember.
Yeah.
And I mean, you with a lens and like a you know, expensive camera, and it sits up in the closet.
Yeah,
you know,
it's because the iPhone's just so easy, and you can do a lot of things with it. There's filters, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. But my father is actually a really good professional photographer. He takes amazing photographs of not only people but animals and nature, and he's always been that way. I just think it's just a natural thing for me. And when you really love what it is that you're taking photos of, you're going to take really great photos. So I really love him. I take really good photos because I see him.
She always gets great photos.
Yeah, I just see him in ways that are, I think, special and unique, you know.
Jessica, in my point of view, I think you're on the same level as Neil Preston. I really love all the stuff that you do. And then Neil's coming on because I wanted to talk to him about all the stuff that he's doing, going back to Jimi Hendrix. But no, I think you have that eye. Not think you do.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I see Ira in a different way of how you're capturing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
It's not just the photos; it's also her perspective on how to present me online as well and stuff. She just has a great way about looking at how to present things. She's a designer as well. She designed purses for Beijing, probably 500 designs, and had her own company called Buzzsaw, where she was designing rock apparel and clothing and purses and stuff. So she has that artistic eye. And I also got to mention what's been really cool. Jessica and I, you mentioned our love story. When we dated previously for a period of time, and I remember back then, I think it was 2008, if I'm correct. She had a BlackBerry, and that was before iPhones were really like iPhone 1 or 2 might have been out, but not a lot of people had them yet, and people weren't using them so extensively. Like now, you can run your whole business off your iPhone. Whatever, you pick a business and you can run it, right? I mean, you can have cameras and watch your employees while they work. I mean, so many things you can do with the phone nowadays. So she had the BlackBerry back then, and she had flown to China to do some business back then, and she was like doing all this stuff on her BlackBerry. I'd never seen anyone do this before. I'm like, what do you do? And she's like saving pictures and sending them and email them. She was all and like, this is what people would do on a computer maybe, but she was doing it on her phone, and she was so just natural and quick. And I was always just like, man, this, now a lot of people are kind of doing that stuff with their phones, doing a lot of stuff, but she was doing this.
But those people who had BlackBerries, you couldn't mess with them and then try to take their BlackBerries away, right, Jessica? It wasn't gonna.
Oh no, I was not having that.
That's why they call it a crackberry.
Exactly, because they could do everything on that phone. Don't touch my BlackBerry.
I didn't think I was doing that much with the phone, because I always felt like I was like behind the time of what people were actually capable of doing back then. But when I look back at it, I'm like, no, I was pretty on the edge of doing a lot of that stuff then, for sure.
When we first started dating, I mean, I think the first week we were dating, she had this line of stuff she was putting out with some rock and roll apparel stuff she did, and she ended up putting together this photo shoot with the keyboard player from Ozzy, Adam Wakeman, and myself. And we did this photo shoot with her stuff, and then we were only together like a week when that happened. I was like, wow, I felt like, that was like, kind of jumped in the fire with her right out of the gate.
He was perfect. I was like, yeah, this looks good.
We met.
There's no better way if she dating or not. By the results of the photos, that's so good.
Yeah, no, I was like, this is good.
Jessica, when you met Ira, what was the first thing that caught your eye as that creative artist?
Yeah, so we met at a Black Label Society show at the House of Blues in Hollywood. The House of Blues is no longer there. But my mom and my brother actually knew Ira from the music world. They're both metalheads before I even met him.
Had met. Casually hung out, and not like we didn't totally know each other, but just
And I was leaving the show and getting into the valet. My car just pulled up. I got into my car and I looked over to my left, And he was like standing waiting for his car, like, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet. And we just caught eyes.
I looked over and she was getting in. We looked, I was like,
and he came right over to the car, and I put down my window and we just said our names to each other. And the guy was like yelling at me to leave.
Cars are honking because it's an LA section.
And I reacted. I reached into my purse, and back then we had business cards, and I handed him my business card. And 5 minutes later, I'm not kidding, 5 minutes later, he called me on the phone, and the next night we went out. And that's how it happened. So it was
That's
like,
how it should happen. That's good. You're a good man, Ira.
yeah, so
You should get grabbed.
that's right. So it was an instant thing, you know. It was like the, you know, like a fate thing, I think, for sure. And then I gave him my card, and then he just did what every man should do when they are pursuing and interested in a woman: pick up the phone and call her right away. He stole my heart. He stole my heart right then and there.
I was like, oh, I'll call her tomorrow. Now I'm like, no, I'm calling right now.
He did. He called me right away. He's like, wait, I wanted to finish that conversation.
And apparently,
yes.
Her brother and her mother were sitting a ways over, sitting down, waiting for her to get the car, and then she pulled to get them. So
yeah,
they saw this going on between her and I, and we didn't really see that they saw what we were doing, you know. So we heard their story, you know, they were like, oh, look at this, you know, tag each other. Okay, what's going on here? Look, oh, there's that guy Ira, and he's talking to Jessica. Look at this. So they witnessed this whole thing happened in real time, you know. So that's kind of special too. We kind of talk about it and, you know, joke about, reminisce about it sometimes.
Yeah, we really do. It was really like, you know, it was a magical moment. And at that point in time, you know, we went out, I don't know, for like maybe 4, 5, maybe 6 months. And, you know, we were also, as much as we were, you know, in love and we cared about each other and we wanted to be together, there were obvious things that weren't fitting into our lives. So we went our separate ways, and we were kind about it. And, you know, it wasn't ugly. It was just, you know, like right now that things were different, you know, and it had a lot to do with sobriety, because I've been sober for a long time, and Ira was drinking and he wasn't. And
I was in full on rock and roll party mode. I was like,
and I had young kids. Like I had a baby seat in the back of my car when he saw me, and, you know, so when we first met.
But I have a son as well, so that was actually, you know, a good thing in terms of our connection too. That I understood having a kid, and so did you.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And so we actually, you know, parted ways for about 5 years. And during that time, we each had we had a different relationship going on. And then Ira got sober. And, like, you know, another fate thing happened where we both were just not in a relationship anymore. And he called me again and said, hey.
Another good move.
Another good move, right? He called me. And he's like, hey. And I didn't answer the phone for like, you know, 3 or 4 days, because I didn't know he was calling, you know.
It was a different number.
It was a different number. I didn't answer. Yeah. And eventually, you know, we reconnected again. And so that was,
and this time I was sober.
He was
you know,
sober,
I always kind of felt like she was the one that got away. And I knew why in some regards. I'm like, the sobriety was definitely, and my non-sobriety was definitely a big issue.
Yeah.
And stuff, you know, and it was just, you know.
That was the issue. That was the thing that was a big, you know, barrier for us.
Can you share with our audience the ultimate in your relationship? What happened on when he proposed?
Oh, I'll let him share it, because it was all his. It was his brainchild for sure. You can't even believe.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I don't know, it's because I'm a creative person, you know, like my job and what I do in life is living in the creative world like 24 hours a day. So it's like I always come up with these huge ideas. That's just, I'm like the idea master. She can tell you, like, sometimes she can't even take all the stuff on. She's like, you know, let's take a break, because your ideas right now are just blowing my mind. I have to like take a break from it. So of course she didn't know about this one. I had to surprise her with it. She didn't get to partake in the planning of this. You know, I'll make a pretty long story as short as I can. I was on tour with, at the time I was playing in 2 bands, I Am Morbid and Westfield Massacre. And I was on tour with the Westfield Massacre in the US. And my band, I Am Morbid, was like an offshoot band of the death metal band Morbid Angel. Morbid Angel was scheduled to play the Alcatraz Metal Fest in Belgium. And something happened with their visas or something, and they couldn't play this show in Belgium, and they canceled their whole tour. And that was one of the shows. Now, I had played this festival previously with Where Angels Suffer, the guys from Wasp and Metal Church. And so I knew the promoter. So I contacted him and said, hey, I just saw Morbid Angel canceled. What better band to replace Morbid Angel than I Am Morbid, an offshoot of that band? We're playing the same songs. You know, we have the original singer bass player who helped start the original band and the drummer from the band. So I had that booked in less than 24 hours. I mean, he was like, that's a great idea. And then, so here we are. I'm on this other tour with my other band in the US. This show is about 9 or 10 days away at this festival in Europe. And I'm getting ready to I'm literally going to finish this tour and then jump on a plane and then fly to Belgium and then play this show with my other bands, right? So it's already a whirlwind of a concept. Like, most will be like, oh my God, this is... So, you know, it's funny because when I'm on tour, of course, I miss my girl. I miss my family. I miss my life back home. You know, it's hard. We juggle this all the time. We're on tour. We're like, oh my God, I miss my cats. I miss my girl. I miss my kids. You know, my family. Miss my bed. You know, so it's like we get more sensitive about it and stuff too. So I was already missing Jessica a lot. I was at the end of this other tour that was a month-long tour. We had about a week left. And I was just like, I had this idea. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to invite her to come with me to this festival and, you know, come to Europe with me. And the more I started thinking about it, I'm like, you know, I miss her. I love her. You know, of course, we already live together. We're practically married anyways, you know, so I'm like, I want to marry her, you know? So that was my original plan, was I was going to marry her at the festival, because my brain goes so fast sometimes, you know, it's like, I just see what I want in this vision. I'm like, I'm here, that's where I'm going. And the funny thing is that I called her up and I said, hey, why don't you come, you know, to this festival with me that I just got booked, and maybe we'll go to Paris for a couple days afterwards, you know, jump on a train and we'll make a little vacation out of it. And she's like, wow, yeah, okay, let me think about doing this, you know. I mean, of course she wanted to do it, but let's see, you know, it's going to cost a lot of money. It's a last minute. I mean, this is in a week. Like, hey, you want to go to Paris and Belgium in a week, you know? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do something here. Now, I saw at the Alcatraz Metal Fest, where I got us booked to play, that 3 couples, they had like a contest, and 3 couples were going to get married there. So that's what kind of sparked the idea. I was already missing her, and I saw that, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to marry her at the festival. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but, you know, I'm going to make this happen somehow. So it literally got to the point where she's like, okay, I'm coming. I came home. We're flying out. And I'm on the plane going, I'm like, well, how the heck am I going to marry her at the festival tomorrow? And I haven't even proposed to her yet. I mean, I'm like, should I do it on the plane? So it's like, I'm all like trying to figure this out, you know?
And at the same time, keep it secret.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a big part of it, too.
Yeah.
Some funny stuff. I mean, I made a video where we were telling her mother, who's actually sitting behind us over here, she lives here as well. And I turned on the iPhone video. We're taking a video, and we were filming her mom to let her mom know that, hey, by the way, Jessica's flying out in, you know, 2 days or whatever it was, like, to Europe with me. And it's funny because I was talking to Jessica, like, her mom didn't know what we're going to talk to her about. And in the back of my mind, and I'm like, and Jessica doesn't even know what's really going on here. So it was like a double trick video. So I took this video, and so Jessica thinks she's in on it with me, telling her mom like, hey, guess what we're going to be doing in a couple days? And her mom's like, what? We're like, well, you know, we're going to be flying to Europe. She's like, no, you're not. And he's like, no, we are, you know. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, Jessica has no idea what's really going on, you know. So, and I was kind of making hints in the video to Jessica, and Jessica's looking like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, why is, I thought we were doing this together with my mom. Now you're saying weird stuff to me about this, you know? So anyways, long story short, I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to marry her at the festival because I haven't even proposed yet. We're on the plane. So I'm just going to propose to her. Now I had a little bit of an idea how I wanted to do it because I knew Korn was on the show, and we're friends with the guys in Korn, especially Ray.
They were headlining the show.
Yeah. Korn was the headliner.
Yeah.
We're friends with Ray Luzier, the drummer. And now I'm playing the show as well, and we're playing a side stage. It's a large stage. I mean, we had, you know, probably 15, 20,000 people on our side stage. It was no small show, but I was like, you know, I could propose her on our stage, you know, but I also felt that it's hard to say. I didn't think my band would have gelled with it. I hate to say that, but I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to mess with our set in any way, you know? So, and then I thought, well, I'd really like to do this on the main stage because they have these it looks like a castle, and they have fire shooting up, and they have an insane stage show, right?
And 30,000 people.
Yeah, so I'm like, maybe I can get the guys in Korn to let me do it somehow with them, right? So I was like, this was all just like real-time thinking. We arrived, and I still don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know I'm going to do something somehow, some way. And it was funny because we played our set, and about halfway through, I look over, and the drummer of Korn standing on my side of the stage watching our set, and I'm like, there's Ray. I'm going to have to talk to him, you know, like about doing this. And then she was there, so I couldn't really talk to him there. And so later on, Korn's getting ready to go on soon in probably about 45 minutes or something like that. I'm like, hey, let's go backstage and hang out with Korn real quick. She's like, well, let's watch, who is it, Amon Amarth? Or,
yeah, probably.
I think Amon Amarth was on. She's like, I'm like, okay, well, let's watch like 4 songs, and then we'll go backstage and
he was all anxious about it too. He's like, no, let's go talk to the guys in Korn. I'm like, we'll see them after, you know, let's watch the show. He's like, no, come on. I'm like, all right.
So we went back there. We ended up hanging out with the whole band, and you know, now I'm like, okay, now I'm backstage with Korn. They're getting ready to go on, but Jessica's there. How am I going to pull this off? I mean, this was literally boom. So all of a sudden, the guys in the band are like, hey, we're on in like 15. So well, why don't you go hang out in the back of the stage? Because where they're at is a little bit further away. You know, they have to be driven over there and stuff. Why don't you meet us at the backstage, and you can walk up with us and hang out side stage while we play? Because they have a pretty strict code going on.
Closed, yeah.
So, okay, cool. So we start to walk out, and Ray's starting to stretch out, and I tell Jessica, I'm like, hey, there's like a little table with some drinks and stuff. Like, hey, can you grab me a water real quick? And she's like,
I'm like, what?
Yeah, okay. So she goes around the corner.
He doesn't drink water. He doesn't drink water.
So she goes and grabs the water, and I tap Ray on the shoulder real quick, and I'm literally like right there in the spot. I'm like, dude, I'm going to propose to Jessica, and I want to do it right after you guys are done playing. Maybe you can bring me up on stage right when you're done. And he's like, yeah, okay. And she's walking me, I'll meet you in the back of the stage right before we go on, and we'll talk about it. And then Jessica's walking up, and I'm like, okay, let's go. And I'm like, oh my God, did I just really do that? You know? So we get to the back of the stage, and then they roll up, and then Ray's like, you know, I mean, there's, you know, about 20, 25 people, their friends and fans.
Your band,
yeah.
I Am More.
There was, you know, their peeps were there. They're going to walk up them, and their production manager's going to tell them, hey, you have to stand over here behind the tape, and this is a big production of the headliner of the show, huge stage show. And then Ray's coming up and, you know, talking with me. And then as we go up, Ray brings me to the back of the drum kit. Like, I'm standing right there at the drum kit with Ray, and they're making everyone else go stand over here. So Jessica's like, what's Ira doing? Why is he? They're on in like 3 minutes. I think the intro's playing, you know, and Ray and I over here like, he's like, okay, man. So I talked with Head. He's telling me the whole story, like, yeah, you know. So I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. So he's like, you know, as soon as we're done, Head's gonna go up to the mic and call you out, bring you out, and I'll come out and we'll film it and blah blah blah, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. So we go to this. I go back to the side of the stage. Jessica like, everything cool? I'm like, oh yeah, everything's great. And then at one point I go to the other side, and their production manager is like, yeah, I caught wind of what you're doing. This ain't gonna happen during my show. So all of a sudden now I'm being blocked by their production manager, and I understand why. You know, he's in charge of the show, and here I am just coming in like, you know, taking over. Like, hey, I'm basically gonna propose, you know, somewhere along the Korn set somehow. You know, it's like, and so I had to go back and forth with him, and I did omit one part. When we got to the festival, we went to the production office, and I ended up talking to this guy randomly. We start talking, and this guy, this is a different guy. His name's Mario. He ends up being the in charge. He's like the production manager of the festival. And we're talking for a while, and I'm like, so what are you doing here? He knows why I'm there. I'm in the band. So I'm like, so what do you do at the festival? He's like, oh yeah, I'm the production manager. I'm like, dude, this is fate. You are the person that I needed to meet and talk to, like, because this is what I'm doing, you know? And I hadn't even talked to Korn yet, obviously, at this point. And so I told him my plan, and Jessica's standing, you know, 15 feet away, and he's going, does she know? I'm like, no. He's like, wow. He's like, you did meet the right person. He goes, I can be your confidant. I can be the guy to help make this happen for you. Like I can have the smoke machines going. The cameras will be filming this. I have, you know, the microphone. I'll be talking to my crew. I can be the guy that's, making this happen for you.
Fireworks.
Yeah. No, but he's like, but you have to get Korn to say yes. You have to handle that part. But once we have the go ahead, I'll support it. So I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And then now the production manager's like, of Korn, their personal production manager's like, this ain't happening. And I told the production manager of the festival it ain't happening. And I happen to have his number, so like, call me. He's like, well, Ira, you have to get his okay because it's their show. And if he doesn't okay it, then I can't bypass that. We have to follow what they want. This is their show. So, oh my God. So now I'm arguing with their tour manager. We're on the side stage. He's like, I don't have time for this.
Korn is playing. I'm watching Korn, and I can see them fighting over in the corner of my eye.
This guy's like, it's not happening on my stage. I'm like, dude, the guys in the band are my friends, and they said that we can do this. They're your boss. No offense, but you can't just, put a kibosh on this. And he's like, he's all mad at me, and he's yelling, it's not happening on my stage. He's all angry and stuff. And I'm looking over, and I see Jessica watching me, and I'm like, so I come back, and she's like, is everything all right?
I thought he was going to get us kicked out or something. He's like fighting with the.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
All right. So, Iris, hold that right there because I'm going to end this part one. This is what we call a cliffhanger. And then for part two, we're going to come back and finish this story with everything because this is interesting. You've never heard.
Yeah, it's a good story.
So, with that, I'm going to end with Sherry Nelson out of British Columbia, my co-host, Jessica Chase. A brilliant woman. I love watching her. We're going to get into that in part two. And Ira Black. This is Movie Reviews and More. We'll be back with a part two. We'll see you